This little boy is prone to suffer from earaches. Without warning, he can go from a happy state of play to a state of great anguish, crying violently while often holding his right ear. Now, in consultation with his pediatrician, his mother will administer a small dose of the homeopathic remedy belladonna at the onset of an acute episode. It has reduced the need for antibiotics and will quickly restore the child to a calm and pain-free state. This beloved family pet is susceptible to severe bouts of mange, an unsightly and painful skin disorder that greatly distresses both the animal and her owner. Now, in consultation with her veterinarian, the dog's owner will administer a small dose of the homeopathic remedy Potentization at the first sign of symptoms. It has reduced the need for steroid injections and will help to relieve the animal's symptoms and restore her to a healthy condition. What is this compelling method of treatment that is safe and effective for both small children and animals? And how does it work? Homeopathy is a 200-year-old system of medicine developed by the German physician Samuel Hahnemann. Homeopathy uses highly diluted, specially prepared doses of natural substances to trigger the body's self-healing mechanisms in a comprehensive manner. At the time of Samuel Hahnemann's birth in 1755, the Orthodox medical establishment saw this as a radical idea. For some, it remains so today.
People tend to call any type of natural therapy homeopathy. And when people were coming to my office, they were expecting that as a homeopath, I was going to be prescribing high doses of vitamins or high doses of herbs or things like that. Whereas really with homeopathy, we don't necessarily do that. Sometimes we do that, but really we're giving specific medicines in extremely small doses for the whole person. So it's a very non-toxic way of stimulating the body to heal itself.
A contemporary of Mozart, it is said that the young Hahnemann was a gifted student whose demanding father and own thirst for learning deprived him of a normal childhood. By age 12, he tutored Greek. By 20, Hahnemann left for Leipzig to study medicine and chemistry, paying his tuition by tutoring and translating. In 1791, Hahnemann qualified to practice medicine, but quickly became disillusioned with the accepted medical practices of the times.
They had this idea that illness was caused by too much or too little blood. Since there was not much you could do if there was too little, there must be something. Most of the diseases was caused by too much, which meant that you opened a vein in the arm and bled the person. And like George Washington was bled to death by his doctors. I mean, they would bleed a pint, 2 pints, 3 pints from a person. They gave the person mercury compounds, which caused their teeth to fall out and their jaws to rot. They applied mustard plasters. Medicine was terrible, and Hahnemann just became dissatisfied. And at some point, after losing enough patients and losing one of his children, he said, obviously, I can't help anybody. What I've been taught doesn't make any sense, and sometimes the people get better and sometimes they don't, and I can't approach it rationally. I'm going to stop. And he stopped.
Dissatisfied with the cruel side effects of so-called modern medicines, Hahnemann experimented with smaller and smaller doses of natural substances in order to minimize the possibility of side effects from his own remedies. He further developed a method of potentizing his dilutions by vigorously shaking the preparations at the end of the process. Hahnemann called this technique succussion. He concluded that the more a remedy was diluted in this manner, the more effectively it would cure, and without any side effects. To his orthodox colleagues, who routinely purged their patients with highly toxic substances, this was medical heresy. But in the course of his lifetime, Hahnemann would prove more than 100 remedies.
A very simple proving would be a cup of coffee. I mean, a real good, strong coffee to somebody who has never drunk coffee will make you very speedy. It gets you excited, it gets you up, it gets your mind going, your thoughts go through your head, you get all excited, you can't sleep. Think about a child after a party, and the kid is wired and so excited, and they can't sleep, and they're jumping up and down. That's a child in a coffea state. That is a natural state of a person which mimics the state of coffea poisoning. And if you want the child to calm down, you give them a dose of homeopathic coffea, and it calms them down.
The origins of homeopathic medicine can be traced to ancient Greece and Hippocrates, the father of medicine. The term itself derives from two Greek words, homeos and pathos, meaning similar and suffering, words that present clues to understanding the dynamic at work in this system of medicine. Indeed, the basic theory of homeopathy is that like cures like. Hahnemann referred to this principle as the law of similars. He made this discovery by first experimenting with cinchona bark, from which the substance quinine is derived, used to treat malaria. While healthy, Hahnemann was able to ingest quantities of the bark sufficient to reproduce the symptoms commonly associated with the disease. He concluded that what could induce the symptoms in a healthy person could trigger a cure in one afflicted with the disease. Like cures like means that a patient's symptoms provide direct clues for what his body needs to rid itself of an illness. For example, if a person is suffering from hay fever allergies, a homeopath might give him a tiny dose of Allium cepa. This remedy is derived from the red onion, a pungent vegetable known to induce watery eyes and runny noses. By giving this patient a substance that will reproduce his symptoms, the homeopath seeks to trigger the body's natural ability to overcome illness and heal itself. Hahnemann devoted a lifetime to proving this theory by testing hundreds of additional substances to discover the symptoms they were able to produce in healthy volunteers, meticulously noting each result. Hahnemann referred to these experiments as provings, formulas for remedies that provide the basis for the classic homeopathic repertory in use today. His organon of medicine still defines the homeopathic philosophy and system of belief. Today, homeopathy is recognized and practiced throughout the world as both a standalone method of treatment and as a complement to conventional medical therapy. But the fundamental tenets of homeopathy still present a challenge to some in the orthodox medical community, who can neither wholly accept nor refute it. At the heart of homeopathic principle is the idea that living organisms are sustained by what is called the vital force. Homeopaths believe that the vital force is the primary operating system of the organism. As such, it provides a constant, life-preserving climate that enables the body to preserve its state of well-being by maintaining a healthy balance with its environment. That balance includes continuously compensating for physical, mental, and emotional stress to the organism. But homeopaths also believe that extreme or prolonged stress can overwhelm the body's vital force, and that during these periods when the vital force is weakened, disease can effectively attack the organism. A complete waning of the vital force would lead to death. Historically, conventional medicine has focused on the control of disease, assuming for the most part that individuals with the same diseases can be treated in the same way. In contrast, Homeopathy seeks to treat the individual, not the disease. Believing that each organism is unique, the homeopath seeks to determine the root cause of the illness that has weakened the individual. Then, by administering a minute dose of a specially prepared substance, capable of producing in the healthy the same characteristic symptoms as those presented by the sick individual, the homeopath seeks to stimulate the patient's vitality and, in turn, restore the body to a natural state of health.
You could not call it a magic cure. It's one approach to healthcare, and it's one that's very overlooked here in the United States. It can't do everything. It's not everything for everybody. But what I found is that people do really well if they think of homeopathy first instead of last. If they go to homeopathy to try to get a curative response and get well first, and then fall back on conventional medicines if they absolutely need to, that keeps their immune system and their natural recuperative abilities more intact.
Today, researchers work to unravel the mystery of potentization and to prove the efficacy of modern homeopathic medicines that contain only trace elements of their base ingredients. For example, a dilution of 3x is a 1 in 10 dilution, as denoted by the Roman numeral X. That is succussed, after which the process is repeated 2 more times for a total of 3. It contains only 1/1000th of a drop of the starting material, making it virtually impossible to measure by conventional scientific means. But homeopaths believe that these remedies contain a kind of energetic memory of their base ingredients, one that has a dynamic effect in triggering the body's innate healing mechanism. Critics of homeopathy argue that these remedies are virtually nothing more than sugar pills doused with plain old water or alcohol, and that any cure most likely results from a placebo effect, or that the patient would have gotten better anyhow. But millions of patients throughout the world who continue to benefit from homeopathic treatment would prove otherwise. Cure in animals is especially indisputable.
I was very skeptical of homeopathy. My background was very traditional, conventional Western medicine. We weren't even, I don't think, versed on what homeopathy was. The word never came up in my pharmacy school. And I had to learn that through my own experiences here, seeing the customers, seeing the feedback, seeing the marketplace and our patients, that there really is a lot to what people are bringing out in this natural medicine.
That homeopathic remedies stimulate cure when properly prescribed cannot be dismissed. But understanding exactly how these very minute doses of natural substances work remains a mystery, one that modern homeopathic researchers are hard at work to solve. Unlike the vast array of over-the-counter preparations that are designed to suppress the symptoms of disease, homeopathic remedies are prescribed in order to trigger the precise reaction in the organism that will stimulate the vital force and restore the body to a state of health. Today, clinical trials of homeopathy have proven it effective in treating a wide variety of acute conditions, including coughs, colds, hay fever, sinus problems, flu, migraine headaches, and routine trauma like muscle strain. Homeopathy can also be used to effectively treat more chronic diseases like arthritis, asthma, and many others.
Consumers today are looking for, and this is worldwide, are looking for alternatives, complementary medicines that can meet their needs with less toxicity. And so homeopathic medicines today are really positioned wonderfully for this opportunity.
For the skilled homeopathic practitioner, understanding and practicing this system of medicine requires years of diligent study. Before prescribing any remedy, the trained homeopath will attempt to get a picture of the whole person. In addition to noting physical symptoms, he or she will seek to develop a deeper and detailed understanding of the patient's total makeup, including the mental, emotional, and environmental well-being. Robert Bannon is a licensed clinical homeopath who received his initial training at the College of Homeopathy in London. He practiced and taught in Eastern Europe before joining the Allen Academy, an advanced training program for classical homeopaths in Wilmington, Delaware.
It's a question of understanding what it is that needs to be cured. And everyone these days, I'm sure, is fairly clear that there is more than a link between the mind and the body. They're really an inseparable unity. And so it's absolutely fundamental to most of the homeopathy that's practiced today to understand the nature of the mental emotional situation of the patient if you're going to find that similar remedy which goes to the very bottom of the trouble.
Like an expert detective, the homeopath will take a detailed personal history of the patient, hoping to extract clues that will lead to the root cause of the complaint. The goal? To prescribe the precise constitutional remedy that will stimulate the patient's vital force and restore health.
Well, the initial homeopathic visit lasts about an hour and a half, and because homeopathy is individualized, it's important that we understand everything we can about the patient, physically as well as mentally and emotionally. So we go into a very extensive history taking, looking into the past medical history, the family history, the presenting complaint, and all of the ramification of that. But we also look at the person's temperament and moods, whether they tend to get depressed easily, whether they're irritable, if they have certain fears, fear of heights, fear of the dark, do they have a temper? We look at food cravings, body temperature, sleep patterns, dreams. We try to find out everything we can. We want to really understand that person on a deep level.
Homeopaths look at the whole person, this complex individual who manifests his or her symptoms in their own unique individual way. So no two people with flu, for example, will have the same symptoms. I want to know whether the flu came on slowly or fast, whether the person has chills and is bundled up or is boiling hot and sweating, or has a fever but is absolutely dry head to toe, whether they're thirsty or not, whether they're irritable or not.
But even the most skilled detective will not always crack the case on the first try. Likewise, for the expert homeopath, there are several possible results after administering a remedy. 1, the patient is cured and no additional remedy is needed. 2, there is no change in the patient, indicating that the remedy was not homeopathic to the case. 3, symptoms change and the patient improves some, requiring a second prescription. And 4, symptoms worsen and a corrective remedy is called for. Neither the process of diagnosis nor cure can be rushed.
See, the remedy is just an energetic impulse. If it's not appropriate, it tends to go over your head. If it's appropriate, if it hits the spot, then it's wonderful. It can unlock a whole host of healing forces. If it's inappropriate, it's like a gust of wind. It comes and goes.
After thorough study, homeopathic self-care can be appropriate for people with simple first aid or non-acute conditions. But those with serious or chronic illness should always seek the care of a professional practitioner.
People should only ever treat themselves for minor complaints. They've checked with their doctor that there's nothing serious going on. And then they have a choice about whether to let nature take its course, or if there's some discomfort, to use homeopathy to speed that healing process, rather than suppressing the symptoms with unnecessary medications that should always be saved for the serious illnesses. That's my belief.
Within a few short years of Hahnemann's publishing of his findings, his teaching spread to other parts of Europe, to the U.S., and eventually to India. The idea of effective medicines with no side effects that were inexpensive to prepare appealed to physicians and health practitioners throughout the world. In 1831, when cholera swept through Europe, mortality rates were greatly reduced with homeopathic treatment. Before the work of Pasteur on germ theory, it was Hahnemann who strongly advocated hygiene and quarantine to support homeopathic therapy. Very quickly, homeopathic medical schools and teaching hospitals evolved. Disciple physicians like Constantine Herring, James Tyler Kent, and others, both in Europe and the U.S., continued the painstaking work of conducting their own provings. They discovered new remedies and improved on Hahnemann's knowledge of homeopathic medicine.
Anything in the botanical world can be made into a remedy, but we have information on some 2,000 or so botanical remedies. Then there are many mineral remedies, elements from the periodic table, combinations of elements, salts. Plain salt, natrum muriaticum, sodium chloride, is a very important remedy in homeopathy. And there are animal remedies.
Through the early part of the 20th century, homeopathy flourished. While successful outcomes could not be disputed, the medical establishment continued to struggle with how homeopathy could work. With the advent of penicillin and other so-called wonder drugs, homeopathy and its methodical approach to the treatment of illness fell largely out of favor. In recent years, medical science has begun to understand the limitations of antibiotic therapy. A tendency to overprescribe these drugs has many researchers concerned about creating new immunities that could reduce the effectiveness of these drugs to heal. In addition, the uncertainty of encountering multiple and dangerous side effects from these drugs has many patients concerned that the risks of taking these medications may outweigh the rewards, especially with prolonged use.
What's really changed probably since 1960 on is the general population, has become far more active and involved in their health and the concerns about their health, and probably related to the fact that the baby boomer generation is aging. And so we're looking for solutions for problems, and it's forced us to be more educated about the solutions that are available. And then also I think there's a general acceptance today, or an understanding that while conventional medicines are very helpful in certain solutions for problems, there are lots of problems that can be solved with a less toxic way.
Western populations have demonstrated a renewed interest in alternative medicine as a natural, less invasive complement to conventional medicine. Homeopathy has now regained acceptance with a new generation of physicians and practitioners. Jennifer Jacobs is a medical doctor with a master's degree in public health. She is a clinical assistant professor in the Department of Epidemiology in the School of Public Health and Community Medicine at the University of Washington.
I became very disillusioned with conventional medicine during my residency in family practice. What I found was that instead of healing people, instead of curing people, I was giving them drugs that would only mask their symptoms and often had more serious side effects than the problems the patients were being treated for initially.
Dr. Jacobs regularly uses homeopathy with patients in her family practice at the Evergreen Clinic in Edmonds, Washington, and believes that homeopathy can be particularly effective in treating children.
It's important for the body to learn to fight infection early on, to develop the immune system, to develop antibodies and the ability to fight against illness. And if the body is always relying on something from the outside, the antibiotics, to kill bacteria, then it really weakens the immune system. And this is what they're finding, as well as the fact that many of the common bacteria, the pathogens for common illnesses such as ear infections, sinus infections, pneumonia, urinary tract infections, all of these are becoming resistant to most of the common antibiotics because they're being used too much. And the medical profession is aware of this, and they're working hard to try to reduce the use of antibiotics, but without something else to give people. People come to the doctor, they want something. They don't want to be told, oh, well, you'll get better, go home. And with homeopathy, we really do have something we can give them that is a positive type of healing that will speed up the natural process and that doesn't work against what their body's trying to do.
Because of that elasticity in the vital reaction, the amount of vitality they have to work with, the vital force takes the opportunity. You offer it every time. So with kids, they're much more able to make the best of that opportunity.
These days, the over-medication or the unnecessary medicating of children is a real risk for all parents. And those who wish to explore alternative routes find homeopathy extremely rewarding.
I do use antibiotics if I have to, if homeopathy isn't working. But my experience in treating ear infections with homeopathy was excellent. So I decided to undertake a clinical trial comparing homeopathy to placebo. We did find significant results in several areas. The most prominent and the most promising, I think, is that we found a significant decrease in symptoms within the first 24 hours after treatment. Now, many pediatricians are now starting to think about holding off on antibiotics for 2 or 3 days to see if the child will get better on their own, because studies in Europe have shown that up to 80% of ear infections clear up without antibiotics. But in the meantime, the child has fever, the child is having ear pain, difficulty sleeping. What do we do about that?
Dr. Timothy Dooley has the distinction of having both a naturopathic degree and a medical degree. He now divides his time between teaching and operating a homeopathic practice in San Diego, California.
People in the 70-plus age bracket are very, very definitely can benefit by homeopathy. They tend to be over-medicated, and they tend to have chronic problems that take some time to get well. But at the same time, often you can't get them completely off their medications, but you can improve their health significantly and cut down on their medications where they feel much better. Maybe they don't live a day longer. It's very hard to say. You'd need a lot of studies to really say for sure whether the population treated homeopathically is living longer or not, but they feel better.
I react to every kind of medicine there is, and I was being given medications to counteract the reactions. He took each one individually and gave me a homeopathic remedy that would work as a substitute. We, of course, had to experiment a bit to see what would work for me. And in the long run, we got me off of all of them.
People whose symptoms and diseases are being controlled by medications, it's very important that they continue taking them until they're definitely getting a response where they can slowly cut down on their medication. To just immediately cut your medication can be very dangerous because the disease will flare up. Your body needs to get well first, and then you can gradually cut down on those medications. It's very important.
By not having the pain reaction that required me to take more medication, I'm almost pain-free these days.
Older patients do respond somewhat differently to homeopathic medications. I've noticed in my practice that patients who are going through more dynamic periods like growth, children and up to adulthood respond more readily. And I think it's just part of that dynamism. Their body's always changing. And as we age, our bodies get a little more static. There's not so much change going on. And it's true in that age group, sometimes the response is a little bit harder to get. So usually we have to use the medications a little bit differently to get a good response that's also safe for them.
Homeopathy should not be confused with either vitamin therapy or herbal medicine. While homeopathy does indeed make use of natural organic substances in the preparation of remedies, it is a separate and unique system of treatment.
From a regulatory point of view, homeopathic drugs are differentiated from herbal or dietary supplements by the virtue of the fact that they are regulated as a drug, just like any other OTC or prescription drug that you'll find in the conventional Western approach. We have been included in the 1938 Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act that was written by Senator Royal Copeland, a homeopathic physician from New York, and included homeopathic pharmacopoeia as one of the official sources of drug monographs, similar to the USP, which is the United States Pharmacopoeia.
In Germany, Dr. Wilmar Schwab was one of the most influential pioneers in homeopathy. In 1866, he established his own manufacturing and trading company in Leipzig, the Central Homeopathic Dispensary. One of Schwab's most significant achievements was the compilation of the Pharmacopoeia Homeopathica Polyglotta in 1872. It contains carefully documented instructions for the production of homeopathic medicines, setting a standard for homeopathic pharmaceutical production. His work formed the basis for the official German homeopathic pharmacopoeia in place today. In 1961, the Schwab Company created DHU, the German Homeopathy Union, to strengthen the position of homeopathy. Today, DHU is one of the largest manufacturers of homeopathic medicines in the world. Here at their medicinal plant nursery in Stafford near Karlsruhe, DHU grows most of the medicinal plants used for the production of their homeopathic medicines. In 1980, DHU founded an international organization to standardize the manufacturing of homeopathic preparations, HomeInt, or Homeopathy International. Here at the Research Center, HomeInt in Karlsruhe, Dr. Marianne Hager and her staff are conducting internationally recognized scientific research on homeopathy. Their clinical studies on homeopathy involve physicians from all over the world. Over 10,000 patients have participated thus far, with more than 35,000 patient contacts to date.
Wir waren ganz überrascht. Wir haben eigentlich erwartet.
We were very surprised. Of course, we had expected that the homeopathic remedies would be just as good as the conventional medicine. And we were surprised to find that the homeopathy in this period did better than the conventional medicine. The patients had quicker results, had significantly fewer side effects, and had a distinctively higher satisfaction level with the treatment. A significant building block that was laid during the course of our clinical study is that we work electronically with remote data entry. That means that the data is entered directly at the doctor's location where the examination was made.
Once the information has been entered, it is stored directly in an independent central database accessible for statistical analysis at any time worldwide. Here in Freiburg, Dr. Hager visits with Dr. Matthias Augustin, a participating physician in HomeInt's cost-effectiveness study. Dr. Augustin is a dermatologist who practices here at the University of Freiburg's Dermatology Clinic and at the St. Urban Rehabilitation and Spa Clinic, also in Freiburg.
Wir haben nicht nur auf die Haut geschaut. Das ist sehr wichtig, denn
we're not just looking at the skin. That is very important because I think it's a false goal to just look for healthy skin. It depends upon whether or not the patient is doing better overall. Improvement in general is what we call quality of life. And we are set up to measure quality of life. And so the patient came to us with an extremely bad case of chronic eczema. She had weeping rashes all over her body, and the patient couldn't sleep at night. She was at her wit's end. In such a situation, she would be treated with cortisone, inside and outside, and with antibiotics, because the skin was also inflamed with bacteria. Then the cortisone is phased out. The antibiotics are stopped. We give treatments of homeopathic creams, other natural creams, and other natural treatments like acupuncture. This combination is the biggest secret of our success.
Here in Berlin, ENT specialist Dr. Ulrich Volschner is participating in Dr. Hager's outcomes study, investigating the effectiveness of homeopathy in comparison to conventional medical care from the patient perspective. Dr. Volschner received his medical degree from the Free University of Berlin and his homeopathic training at the Berlin Council of Homeopathic Physicians.
Der Patient mit dem chronischen Hautekzem war über anderthalb Jahre.
The patient with chronic skin eczema had been treated by a variety of dermatologists for over 1.5 years. They did all the relevant tests without any result. And this meant the man was absolutely unable to work. The homeopathic remedy was a key to getting the whole thing moving again. It was through this that the immune system was stimulated so that the self-healing powers came back into play. It was totally blocked.
Dr. Karl-Heinz Gebhardt of Karlsruhe, Germany, is recognized as one of the leading medical doctors of all Germany and the honorary president of the German Association of Homeopathic Physicians. Throughout his 50-year career, his fight for the understanding and acceptance of homeopathy has been relentless.
Also es gibt eine Hypothese, warum das wirkt, und die lautet so: die arzneiliche Information.
There is a hypothesis about how it works, and this is how it goes. The medical information is passed through a medium, either diluted with alcohol or pressed onto sugar. And with that, the information is passed to the organism. And that's exactly what we have done here. So in this little bottle here sits the electronic information of cardiospermium. And when you put it in your mouth, it works. It works physically, not chemically, and that is the difference.
Here in France, where Samuel Hahnemann eventually moved and later died, homeopathic medicine has been practiced for nearly 150 years. Here, too, homeopathic remedies are routinely prescribed by medical doctors and commonly sold alongside allopathic drugs in neighborhood pharmacies.
From the very beginning, those who received treatment played a significant role and greatly contributed to the public acceptance of homeopathy in France. Word quickly spread about the practice as patients related stories and shared personal experiences of improved health as a result of the homeopathic treatment they received. Throughout the development of Western medicine of the 19th century, improved health was observed and attributed to the practice of homeopathy.
Dr. Jean-Marcel Ferret is head physician to the world champion French national soccer team, where he frequently uses homeopathic remedies to treat routine injuries. Dr. Ferret believes the remedies offer players an effective and gentle alternative to traditional drug therapy.
Je crois que c'est complètement sécuritaire et c'est complètement, même je dirais, une alternative au cours.
I believe that it is a completely safe alternative to conventional drugs and it is a therapy that provides immediate results. What is also interesting is that these remedies are very mild and reduce the need for using traditional anti-inflammatory medications that can be toxic to the liver.
The Boiron Company in France is one of the largest and most recognized producers of homeopathic remedies in the world, applying modern technology to a time-tested process. Mother tincture used in the preparation of Boiron remedies and those produced by other pharmacies is made and tested here at this state-of-the-art facility near Lyon in central France. Today, Christian Boiron carries on the work begun by his father and uncle some 80 years earlier.
Mon père disait, nous devons être meilleurs que les allopathes.
My father used to say that we have to be better than any allopathic care provider, that the manufacturing of the homeopathic medication must be more thorough than the allopathic medication. The reason is that the public does not question the efficacy of the allopathic medication, but will with respect to homeopathic medications. Consequently, we have created a strong tradition of thoroughness here, with respect to everything we do, from procuring supplies to developing and manufacturing our product. I believe we owe this to the consumer, to the doctors, to public health practitioners, and to our profession.
In preparing homeopathic remedies, raw materials, from which base ingredients derived, are gathered in the wild, where they have been either grown or selected for quality. After being tested for purity, the step-by-step process of extracting the essence of each element begins. This resulting liquid is referred to as the mother tincture. The materials are first ground to a coarse grain. They are retested. Then transferred to a large stainless steel kettle where a measured amount of purified water and alcohol is added. The materials are then set aside to distill while technicians monitor, mix, and stir the potions. After several days, the contents of each kettle are poured into a giant press where the solution is extracted. And the solid material discarded. The resulting liquid is then filtered and retested before being coated, bottled and stored. After being diluted to precise specifications, the essence of each mother tincture, now in the form of a pure element, is infused into small sugar pellets using a secondary patented process of succussion developed by the founders. Finally, the remedies of varying strengths are packaged and boxed for delivery to pharmacies around the world. Homeopathic medicines are also manufactured at a host of smaller pharmacies throughout the world, some still by hand. While they might vary in personality and design, all are devoted to a standard of excellence established by Samuel Hahnemann in his paradigm work, The Organon of Medicine, and the homeopath's Bible, the Materia Medica. Today, many homeopathic pharmacies, regardless of size, produce both classical single-dose remedies and special combination products designed to fit the needs of the modern consumer. In the U.S., the Food and Drug Administration regulates homeopathic remedies under provisions of the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. Similar regulations are enforced in Europe and elsewhere. In the town of Tunbridge Wells, south of London, John Morgan and his fellow homeopaths at Helios Pharmacy prepare remedies by hand in the tradition of Samuel Hahnemann.
Well, Hahnemann only made 70 or so remedies. Half of those were plant and half of those were mineral. Since then, many hundreds have been developed, and the Materia Medicas now have over 1,000 well-documented remedies. So many have been created after Hahnemann. And we have pharmacopoeias and very good recipe books to go by to help us preserve the accuracy of the remedy in terms of the original substance, which mirrors the one that was already proved and done right at the beginning. So a lot of our work is just to mimic what already happened the first time that remedy was created, whether it was by Hahnemann or by anybody else. And also searching the world for different source material is also very much part of our job.
In historic Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, Joe Lillard, his wife and staff at Homeopathy Works, operate a homeopathic pharmacy that has been dispensing remedies since 1873. A combination of museum and manufactory, they prepare and sell a full line of homeopathic medicines for people and pets. Rustox, the primary homeopathic remedy for poison ivy, is the main product manufactured here. The base ingredient for this medicine grows naturally here and can be gathered at Joe's nearby farm.
It's really key that the homeopathic medicines don't do harm to people. You can be comfortable with giving the medicines. The safety levels have been set for years and have proven themselves.
Joe also gathers and dries marigolds, used in the preparation of the homeopathic remedy calendula, used to heal wounds and cuts. Small branches of arborvitae are clipped and taken to the pharmacy for use in the preparation of thulia, a remedy that is particularly effective in treating warts. Back in the lab, the staff uses a combination of new and antique equipment to manufacture orders.
The fact that it works and is safe and not fattening and not habit forming, it's kind of hard to believe, and a lot of people don't, but until they try it, their babies try it, or their cat or their dog.
Historically, homeopathy has been used in the treatment of human beings by medical doctors and trained practitioners, or used for self-care by home practitioners. But veterinarians like University of Pennsylvania graduate Dr. Edgar Schaefer use homeopathy routinely to treat animals.
I became concerned about the quality of the food that we all are eating here in America. The amount of antibiotics and hormones that are used in our food animals and our cattle and our sheep, our chickens, our hogs, has to be in the food we're eating. And I felt that because I'd had such success with homeopathic medicines in individual animals and in herds, that I should try to promote myself as someone who could help farmers to farm without drugs.
Dr. Schaefer believes that modern industrial agriculture is fast turning animals like these into machines. In many commercial dairy operations, cows are routinely milked hard, constantly drugged, and disposed of at a very young age. Dr. Schaefer believes that the same homeopathic remedies used to treat humans present an effective, humane, and economical alternative for treating animals. Because, like their human counterparts, these animals are living organisms with an innate vital force that is also susceptible to the effects of prolonged stress.
They were looking for just relief, to give my animal some relief so I don't have to use drugs every day. For some farmers, they were looking for a less expensive way to treat mastitis or pneumonia or some other health problem, so that they didn't have to throw the milk away, discard the milk for 3 days, 5 days, 10 days, or forever how long they were using the antibiotic. One farmer came to me and said, every time you treat a case of mastitis for me, one cow, you save me about $100. Because when you treat with a homeopathic medicine, I only have to discard the abnormal milk. But when I treat my cow with an antibiotic, I must throw all the milk away. I must discard all of her milk for a prescribed number of days.
I've used homeopathic remedies since I started the organic farm, really back about 4 years now. And it's just a natural fit with the grass farming and the organic. And I haven't given any type of a shot with anything here for the last several years.
I would say that the majority of the people who call here are either desperate enough or have already made up their mind that they're going to try something different. And many people who call us have tried just about everything else. They've perhaps tried surgery, and they've tried high levels of drugs, and they've tried other chemotherapies and so forth. And they have been convinced in their own mind that there has to be a better way. Homeopathy is gentle, and it's safe. It's less expensive. What's required is knowledge, patience, and a willingness to try something different. Because you aren't giving anything to kill the virus or to kill the bacteria or to kill the fungus. You're giving something to induce an immune response in the patient. A dairy farmer isn't going to embrace a system of medicine that's not working. You can treat a group of heifers with a homeopathic medicine in the drinking water, and they'll start to cycle. You can treat a herd of cattle that are having a problem with mastitis. You can treat them in the drinking water with the proper homeopathic medicine, and the mastitis will decrease, and some of the cows will actually be cleared. If you practice homeopathic medicine, you'll increase your powers of observation tremendously. Maybe you could say geometrically. And I think that's why I tell my colleagues, it's just wonderful, the education that we've had at University of Pennsylvania Veterinary School and at other veterinary schools, you can just build onto that and use homeopathy. You're adding holistic veterinary education, and it gives you so many more tools to work with.
The farmers in Pennsylvania's dairyland, with whom Dr. Schaefer has worked for more than 20 years, have come to rely on homeopathic remedies for safe, effective, drug-free treatment of their animals, a legal requirement for farmers who are raising certified organic flocks and herds. In the old mission town of San Rafael in Northern California, a new and powerful high-tech version of the homeopathic repertory has been developed to assist homeopathic practitioners in both diagnosing and prescribing. Miranda Castro has been a classical homeopathic practitioner for some 20 years. She now devotes her time to assisting homeopath and programmer David Kent Warkentin with the MEC Repertory and Reference Works projects. Before the development of sophisticated computer programs like these, The process of cross-referencing symptoms in order to diagnose was a time-consuming, labor-intensive task. But now, modern homeopaths can use powerful search engines to efficiently access information from hundreds of books.
I see myself as a complementary practitioner. I work very happily and well alongside medical doctors and osteopaths and chiropractors and naturopaths and the whole wide range of healing therapists.
In nearby Santa Rosa, the Boric and Taffel Company, America's oldest homeopathic pharmaceutical firm, has relocated from Philadelphia. Here they continue to conduct research and manufacture classical homeopathic single remedies of both low and high potencies.
And I think as a scientist, again, we have to be shown, we have to be proven that a product is efficacious. So while there is no known or proven mechanism of action, we do run clinical studies on efficacy. And that efficacy can be anything from small patient populations to mega studies with thousands of patients. We have some products where we have multiple clinical studies, and the clinical studies show efficacy against traditional allopathic type medications, but with the absence of side effects.
They also produce a line of combination remedies designed to effectively compete with popular over-the-counter preparations.
The most important thing we've learned about, again, breaking down this barrier of people not being that involved in homeopathic medicines is the fact that you have to put them in next to the conventional remedies that are available wherever you find these products, in whether it's drugstores, natural food stores, supermarkets. Consumers tell, again, us in the focus groups the same thing. They say, when I have a problem, I need a solution, and I look in one area for my solutions. So they are looking for a natural alternative or complementary alternative to the conventional medicine that they're used to taking.
Today, as we enter a new millennium, homeopathy is a highly respected method of treatment for both physical and mental health problems throughout the world. It is especially popular in countries like India, where this effective, low-cost treatment offers new hope to populations who traditionally had limited access to quality health care.
We really stand on the threshold of a major breakthrough in terms of health and disease. Nobody understands at this point how homeopathy works. There's a lot of research going into that now on the biochemical, physical level. Once that is understood, I feel it will open up the whole field of alternative and complementary medicine and will make healthcare much more humanistic, much more economical, much more egalitarian.
As scientists get closer to realizing the breakthrough that will once and for all explain the dynamic at work in homeopathic therapy, human beings and animals continue to obtain positive results from this safe and effective treatment. Homeopathic researchers continue to prove new remedies and find new applications for this treatment, processes that never require cruel animal testing.
Hahnemann, in his book The Organon, talked about diet and exercise and good living conditions and all of this, and many people say that medicine already took from Hahnemann everything it needed to. But Hahnemann had this other system, which conventional medicine hasn't taken yet, and still uses. Nitroglycerin tablets for angina are homeopathic. The use was developed by Constantine Herring in Philadelphia in 1858. A lot of medicines which are used in conventional medicine, and they say, we don't understand the mechanism. It's homeopathic mechanism. We don't understand homeopathy, but we understand how that law of similars. And I think that the more people understand what Hahnemann did, the more they will understand that it's really medicine, and we have a lot to learn from it and a lot to gain from it.